There's a degree
Well,
of
just
that.
get a grip, do your job.
But I would say, having not defending the film industry, having had some involvement in 2 short films, one as a main character, although it was only shot over like kind of 2 days. Just things can
Stuff
happen,
happens.
and then with the second experience, I'm going to say I was executive producer on set stills, and and through circumstance ended up doing stunts, a spade stunt for James Cosmo, who he is an amazing actor, and he's I would say he made the right decision, though it was kind of probably unpopular at the time, but things had just taken longer and longer and longer, and we experienced this last Wednesday, where it was like kind of the end of the day when the decision making process goes, let's be kind and say, a little bit awry. And so yeah, James, it was coming up to about midnight, and he was saying, well, if you don't get your, basically go and get your shit together, I'm going, which and then yeah, so it's one of those things. It's I would say it's almost an inevitable part of some film. Some film things can go wrong, and especially when you've got a lot of people, and I read a comment. I do love looking out for continuity errors and things like that in films now, and I've always liked it. I've always liked that sort of analysing a film. But people say, spend millions of dollars making a film, and you can't even take a Starbucks cup out of a scene. How could you not notice it? But when you're recreating a world for a short time, and there are so many things to think about.
Stop being so reasonable.
less cynical and a bit genial today. But yeah, it's you often wonder, what the thought process is, and yeah, it's happened in the outside of modelling and filming, things like that. I'd say with my primary purpose in life is to be a photographer and be an alternative photographer. That's who I want to be. Just decision making process, and yeah, I have certainly fallen victim to the 50 quid mate, and I'm going to say this is also a bit of an anniversary, because 8 years ago, it was on the 17th of March 8 years ago, I did an exhibition called Bad Wonderland, which is what I name my little studio space, which is my old dining room. I called it Bad Wonderland. The book was called Bad Wonderland, and it was just because I'd done a lot of work for a band who really wanted to use me for the cover, and I did have the carrot with I think it might have been a 28-page booklet. I must have been insane thinking that was actually going to be true. But yeah, had a lot of carrot dangling, and I was given the title. I'd seen the band a couple of times, and so my thought process with what they'd given me, I'd thought up a scenario that if there was to be this booklet, that I could get a narrative going through the story, anyway, I was usurped by a 50 quid friend. It actually looked like they'd spent less on it. My actual comment to the person that screwed me over was, "It looks like you're dogging in a lay-by."
Well, maybe that's what they wanted.
It wasn't. So yeah, I got really angry about it, and
not one to bear a grudge.
I actually went through a internal turmoil about what I was doing, and then it was through a friend coming round and saying to me, "Why are you being such an arsehole?" And it's you're being an arsehole because you're not doing photography, which was very true. And he said, which is one of my common phrases, and it's like why I didn't say it to myself was just fucking do it, JFDI. So we went out. We just went out and took pictures, and as it happens, I rather strangely ordered a whole load of latex and rubber animal masks, and that picture, a picture from that shoot is on my business card, which is my friend Rupert in like 40s, 50s country gentleman look with a rabbit head on, and we walked around the streets of Duddeston after dusk, and it was we got some just pictures of this sinister rabbit going around, and eventually I did more. I think I took about a year and a half. I didn't do anything else, but it's not because I was fighting people off. I wish I could say that. It wasn't. It was to keep my brain going, and in the end I produced a book called Bad Wonderland, and it's kind of the narrative became Alice's journey back into Wonderland. It ain't nice. There was darker characters. There was a darker vibe going on, and it kind of creatively satisfied the need in me. So
you're back on track.
So I was back with a bit of direction, and let's not use it. I'm really focused on what I was doing. No, I'm not going to say I was focused on what I was doing, but it got me through a time that I didn't really know what I was doing, and it's like 8 years on. Still not entirely sure I know what I'm doing.
But you're making it up as you go.
I'm making it, absolutely winging it going back to lockdown for me, it was a strange time because the year previous I'd had heart surgery and I was kind of out of action, and then I started to. I think it was after it was a couple of months. I did a very, very quick job in Birmingham for Eon, who I used to work for. It was basically me looking at one of these animated street posters, and then I got a couple of small jobs. I did actually do some photography for Dead Happy. It's a guy called Jason Oakley, and I photographed him as a mad scientist in his garage, which was an absolute blast. And it was,
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm changing the subject here.
That's fine.
Clearly to turn it around to me.
Okay.
But apart from that, what's your favourite shoot that we've done together? Which pictures of me are you happiest with? Because we've actually never talked about
We've never talked. No, we've
done
not.
a lot over the years.
I think the one I couldn't pin a favourite because it's like choosing a child, and I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do Sophie's Choice because it's a difficult one to like kind of pin down, because what I've enjoyed on every shoot is the learning process, and it's one of the things that I don't want photography to become an impersonal thing, and I do understand. You form a connection with people. It's like why certain photographers go back and use the same sort of people, and it's like it can actually be a part of. Familiarity. You can cut out. There's things
you
that
get to something meaningful more quickly.
Much quicker. Yes, but
Answer the question.
Answer the question. Right, I keep seeing in my head, which is one that when I actually was editing it, it was just the little tiny bits in it that I really loved, which was the ones that we did with the red, the red dress,
and the
again.
cape.
Yes, after it was again after
dark.
dusk, and it was there was that and it was it was exactly what I wanted, which was like unusual angles, because there's something that I've noticed that I like about pictures is things on angle. Like the question you were asking, why, which is a very valid, why does all photography seemingly be straight on? But then, I mean, the bulk of what a fair proportion of what I do as actors' headshots, so yes, they've got to be that. There's very few photographers that do kind of shit hot angles on headshots, but yes, it was finding the angles, and there was things like it's like you clearly listened, and it was the ones that where I was saying, just make the pose and give it a little movement, because there was movement in hands and little head movements and on a
contortion.
Yes, and on a ego level, the lady that she made. Because the interaction on when you posted was far greater than on mine. There's a lady that was commenting, and she picked up on all the things that I loved about the picture, and then I messaged her, and I was just saying, it was just really nice to hear the bits that I liked about it being recognised. And then she was talking about her extensive history with as a makeup artist. Was she a makeup artist? Working with people like Horst, some like huge names, and it's like, oh my god! It was just like the 70s and 80s photography that the photographers that she'd worked with would have been some of the photography that had fired me up a long time ago, and it was like it was on an ego level as well as the actual final that somebody had heard my message and kind of understood it, because one of the things me as a photographer, I want to get away from so many fucking cliches with photography, and I want to get away from this the dead-eyed. I'm going to say the dead. I'm sure she's not like this in real life, but I always think of Nicole Scherzinger. Whenever you'd see somebody, with my ex, I used to watch her on X Factor, and I could just see that she did not give a shit. She didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there. She was doing it for the moolah. But I don't know. That's my opinion. But Nicole Scherzinger, it's that kind of dead-eyed look. I want people to engage, and I want people to interact through the camera. So that's a big thing for me. But yeah, during that time, I'd had a heart attack. I thought things were going to happen for me, because I was getting a bit of there was a few more inquiries, because I'd had the website. I think I was about 18 months into having my new name website, because I'd had a couple before. I used to be known as different photographers, and it's not like I'm trying to lose an identity because of terrible things that happened in the past. Not at all. It was just that I thought I was being really, really quirky. And first one I still really like, which was Cryptic Corp, and I thought it was really funny to put all the K's in K's. And it's not like I was doing the KKK, but it was, I wanted, it was, trying to be a little bit edgy, to ward off the people that probably wouldn't get me, because, and I'm sure it'll come up, but how I got to where I am now is a hell of a rocky road. But yeah, at the time I got the new website. I'd not getting much interest on it. but the things were starting to happen. Then we had second lockdown, and it's like I didn't know what to do because I couldn't do anything. So I planned. I was in possession, or was about to receive the Carn and Bell gear from Karen, and it was like, what am I going to do with this? And the initial thoughts for that were pretty different to what I was sitting around. So I had about four or 5 months that not I sat every day and plotted, and I just thought, oh, it would be really nice if I could get this. There was a couple of ideas that I had. There's two that I'd still love to do. It's just if I carry on with it, there's still a couple. But there was one I was thinking about doing, getting into a nightclub and doing like trying to fake. I'd say maybe a Tintin's night or Holy City Zoo night, but then in reality, sort of, you know, people.
So difficult to
people
organise.
probably wouldn't want post lockdown. People wouldn't want that kind of amount of intrusion because I was being respectful of other people. I think, like, I'd like to think I was like that. But so yeah, I plotted and planned, and it was finding people that I felt fitted the vibe. Fortunately, I did what everybody, what I cynically moan about is I used my friends, and it was because
Cheap.
they were, well, yeah, okay, there was that, but it was actually building this little family of
better to have people who bought into it and know what you're trying to do.
Yes, exactly.
And rather than those who are just doing it for the money.
And and I'm quite a fan of Ed Wood. I think Plan 9 from Outer Space, although it's kind of terrible, the man tried. And if I've read his biography. Is it Nightmare of Ecstasy? I know that's a documentary. But yes, he was. He was a trier. God love a trier. No, I don't use the word. He tried, and I think a lot of some of his ideas were insane. But and if he'd had
At
any,
least he wasn't intimidated out of doing them.
well, that's it.
Because
Yes.
it can be that you tell someone an idea, and
yeah.
they ridicule it to the point that you just retreat.
Well, yes, yeah. I mean, yes, I quite agree. I mean, in the past, I've shared ideas, and the people that were around me were just not supportive, and it was like, oh, what do you want to go and do that for? And it's like, huh?
That doesn't really help, does it?
No, so
you can not get it and make the right noises.
Yes. So I've adopted this sort of kind of Ed Wood approach, this kind of lo-fi, quirky. If I'm remembered post death as one of the world's worst photographers in Birmingham, I shall be really
That's
upset.
not going to happen because there's some really nice pictures of me.
There you go. That's
And that's all you need to know.
but big picture, I look at some of my pictures and I don't do this weekly review of what I did years ago, but every now and then there was a time I was talking when we were having the discussion about low angles, and my first digital camera was a Fuji, and one of the absolute beautiful things I had about it was this little flip screen, and it kind of really opens up your world, and I'm going to say as a device for much older people.
You don't have to get on the floor.
You don't have to get on the floor. You get on the floor
underneath the M6 motorway.
But as Jack Morgan can testify, that I did do some shots with him where I was lying on the floor or when he was jumping over the top of me. So, but if I'd have got the flip screen, Yeah, no, I can't see it from here. No, there it is. That's my oldest camera. So it's primed, ready for some more action.
Excellent.
But yeah, that opens up your world. For me as a photographer, I don't know about other people, but yeah, if I to be honest, if I'm remembered badly, fuck 'em, I don't
At least
care.
you're remembered.
Well, that's right. Yeah, the old better to be talked about than not talked about.
Yeah, no such thing as bad publicity.
I actually quite agree with that.
Do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a bit like I'm still getting used to seeing my face.
Yeah.
Because having avoided looking at it in photography for so long, that you get oversensitised.
Oh, of course.
In a way.
Yeah.
And you know that thing when you're looking at they've got your picture on the monitor and they zoom in and you're like, shit, look at that wrinkle. My God, you could park a bus down that wrinkle. Well, anyway. And I suppose I feel like that a bit still. When I set up my Instagram, that's the reason that it's Thin Latin Moose is because I was working in construction.
Yeah.
And I didn't want any of these bloody
sleazebags,
sexist blokes